Well, John, welcome back, John Thate.
Well,
It's
thank you.
Pleasure seeing you. Folks, John Thate has been with us before. John, share the folks what you do for a living.
Well, I'm in the tree business. I trim and remove trees, and I try to think I help people solve problems with their tree and landscape problems.
Awesome. And how many years?
Since 1977, so that's 42.
That's
Yeah.
a few.
That's
That's
a few.
And you know, when you were on before, we talked about some different projects you did and how you got in the business and such. And I was anxious to have you come back if you had any new projects that would be of special interest to our viewers. And I understand you have it. Tell us about one.
Okay, well, the most complex one that comes to mind was one here in town that was a very large cottonwood tree that was growing against the foundation of a house, pushing into the roof and the foundation. I think it was 24 to 26 feet in circumference.
Really?
I don't know, I would guess it was about maybe 90 feet tall, but a canopy, the width of the canopy was probably, I'm going to say, all of the height, 90 to 100 foot wide. And there's some incredible footage. It took 2 days to do it. We with aerial truck and a crane working to pick this from the over the top of the house, two houses, and then process it out in the street. That was challenging.
How many people on the job?
Oh, I think there was 7 of us on that job, as I recall. And I was running the aerial truck, doing all the rigging with the crane, and the rest of the men were either loading, hauling, or traffic control.
Sure. So how big job is traffic control when you do those kind of projects?
Well, traffic control, barricades, and then just whoever's on the ground, the group that aren't trucking, moving material. I think on that job there was 2 people that were in charge of traffic control.
Okay.
You know, because there's not just automobile traffic, because we had to shut down that area of the street, but also keep an eye on neighbors.
Oh, sure. Of course.
You know, so nobody came into the landing zone or yeah.
When you do big jobs like those, do you have quite a few people that are, for lack of another word, sightseers?
It draws a crowd. Oh yeah.
I bet it does.
Yeah. It's pretty fun stuff.
Absolutely. Well, this is why we wanted to have you back on, because I love these stories. I mean, these are interesting projects, and I can see why you enjoy the challenge of these. It looks like a challenge. Now, if I was in charge, trust me, there'd be big troubles. But when you're doing it, it's fun to see how the project comes together.
Well, I'm a thrill seeker by nature, you know, have been, you know, all my life, and so I'm really drawn to those complex, challenging jobs. I mean, I really like it when I have those opportunities. And the other thing, you know, we operate with really good equipment, and the people that work with me are amazing. What we can accomplish, so that gives me confidence, you know, in what I'm doing. You know, like if I'm up in the aerial truck with a crane over my head and picking, you know, 5,000 pound Volkswagen-sized pieces of wood, I'm quite confident in what the fellows are doing down there. You know, it's just it's fun.
Now, when you take on one of these projects, the day before, the night before, even a couple nights, is there worry involved, or is it more excitement about how am I going to get this done? How am I going to plan it out? I'm sure it has a formula that you have to kind of come up with.
Well, I wouldn't say worry, but sometimes we'll wake up, you know, like in the wee hours of the morning, thinking, oh, don't forget to do this, don't forget to do that. So then I actually get up and I write those things down, and then I go right to sleep. You know, then I have my own notes again, and then when we do the project as a work group, we go over the plan, with everybody, including the crane operator, traffic control, so that everybody's on the same page. And sometimes we have to stop, and maybe go over the plan again, so that there's no miscommunications.
Sure.
Okay.
Now that sounded like, or looked like, a very interesting project. Tell us about another one.
Well, there was a kind of a challenging project we did. That was in Albert Lee, doctor's home on a lake. Couldn't get any equipment to the backside. It was on a steep slope, and couldn't reach it with mechanical equipment. So some of the people that work for me, they're climbers. Some are really incredible climbers. Well, anyway, one of the fellows climbed the tree, and then we had a crane sitting out front to pick tree piece by piece, and then had the street blocked off so that we could swing the material to the street, process it on street side. That was pretty interesting. Yeah, that was kind of fun.
And how long did that one take?
Man, we made that happen. I bet you I had the crane on the road, fed him at maybe 1 o'clock, and he was gone. So the crane work was all done by 1. The project itself, there were some other things we had to do on the project besides that one removal, trim some on the slope and whatnot. But I think that was a day project.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's from my standpoint, that's an awfully big project for a day. You have quite a few, what I would call emergency projects. Like, I mean, that has to be a big part of what you do.
When a storm comes in, and it could be a wind or a storm, summer storm, maybe in the Iowa Great Lakes area, phone will ring off the hook. When a storm comes in, Albert Lee, I remember probably 20 years ago when they had that high winds, they had I think a tornado go through north part of Austin, and we had done work for Austin Country Club after that ice storm probably 30 years ago.
Okay.
And then so they were familiar with our company, and then they had a tornado go through about 20 years ago or so, or less, I don't know, something like that. Anyway, they had the biggest tournament of the year coming up. I told them we'd be there on a Thursday. We got there on a Thursday. 70 trees to remove, big trees. These are big trees, uprooted trees and damaged trees. And they had a collection site on the grounds near the tennis courts. We did all the removals, got them there. Then I hired a company, a logging company, to haul that to another storm site in Austin, where they're a bigger site. So yeah, when there's a storm, or even like when that ice storm hit from about Mountain Lake all the way over to Sioux Falls, maybe it was that 10 years ago, we spent that whole year over in the Windham, Mountain Lake, Round Lake, Okabena. Didn't do too much in Worthington. That was too complicated. About everybody and his brother was picking up a branch over there. So
So it truly changes a community when there's that big a storm.
Oh yeah. And you're really appreciated for helping when because like if it's a bigger community, a bigger storm, let's say it covers a big area, the normal tree services that service that community or that area, they're so overwhelmed that they're just unable to meet the needs. So we're able to do some of that. The biggest problem is when, like last year, we had that storm that went from probably Emmitsburg, Esterville area all the way up to Faribault, a line of storms, and so we were getting calls from there all the way to where was it, Watertown, and up towards Faribault. I mean, it was just. So when it happens in my backyard, then it's really a problem, big problem.
Sure.
But I'd much rather travel and help than just feel helpless to try and take care of everybody that I've done business with for the last 40 plus years.
Well, I'm sure everybody wants you to come to their project first.
And
understandably.
So then I have to go through like a process of, okay, is the tree on your house? No, I just want my apple tree trimmed. Well, then I have to, well, okay, we'll
Priority.
get back to you. Yeah, but if the tree's on the house or on the building, on the, or on their car, or, on something that they need it now, it's going to rain on my TV tomorrow, So,
That's right.
so then,
Makes a difference.
yeah.
So tell me about seasonal work and how that's different than depending on the time of year.
Well, I guess seasonal work, like right now, we're into probably the primary best time to trim trees, oak trees, and just most all trees because they're going dormant.
The fall. The fall is
for the
best
health
time.
of the trees, this is a very good time. Another thing that comes into play, of course, the farmers, people in the ag industry, they're busy harvesting crops. Then there's a kind of a narrow window of time where they may want tree lines cleaned up that rubbed on their harvest equipment, or maybe the bin sites need the trees trimmed back because they're having some issues there. So there's a lot of farm maintenance projects that'll be coming up before winter sets in, and then when winter sets in, once we get into that, then we do some projects on frozen water. So we'll do shoreline projects, some erosion management projects, and some tree trimming and
So you do that too. So for erosion and
like rip wrapping shorelines
Oh, really?
with
Okay.
boulders
I
and
didn't know
and that sometimes we do in open water, but a lot of times the easiest and best is when the lake froze over, then
Sure.
we can do it.
Is early fall better than late fall for that as a rule, or is it
For which?
for all what you're describing as far as taking care of things in the fall for
Okay.
projects?
I would say, a general rule of thumb, months that end in R is primary good months to trim trees, trim oak trees especially, and then you want to have it done before they start the sap flows, so maybe February.
Okay.
So early fall, good time, and access, frozen ground, maybe good time, so we don't cause an issue with a lawn. Otherwise, we have to use mats and things on softer ground. It seems like every job brings its own set of
I'm sure.
of solutions.
So again, if someone wants to get a hold of you, how's the best way?
We use or we have, of course, local phone number, and then we have an 800 number that we use in advertisements. So you can call the 800 number, and then a lot of advertisement that we offer shows our website. So that would be a way. And then
So if they check out your website, all the information.
yeah, then
that's
they can
probably
kind
good,
of
too.
see some of these projects
Sure.
too. And
Say, I want to thank you for sharing these additional stories with me. I love this stuff. These are some
Okay.
great stories. Would you consider coming back again and tell us about a couple more if you have a couple more interesting ones?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Great response. We'll have you come back. Hey, thank you very much for showing up again.
All
We'd
right.
love to have you on the show. Well, there you have it, another episode of Martin County on TV. And as we share with you those sponsors that made this show possible, remember, it's not just the past, but the present that tells our story.